Welcome back. President Cyril Ramaphosa has arrived in Senegal to conclude his four-nation tour. It included visits to Nigeria, the Ivory Coast and Ghana. The president's visit is to promote South Africa's economic recovery during the COVID-19 pandemic. The four countries are expected to sign agreements on political and diplomatic cooperations. We're joined now by Kgomoeswana, Executive Director, Marketing and Communication at the University of Limpopo, to give us more insight. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. Now, of course, we first had the visit from Uhuru Kenyatta, the Kenyan president, and then the president, our president, that is, started traveling across many parts of Africa. Is this going to yield positive results from what you're hearing so far?
Good afternoon, Masego. It will yield positive results. And running a country involves international relations. And I don't think the president could have chosen a better time to visit a region as critical as economic community of West African states, especially the economies like Nigeria, which is still the largest economy by far. And it has a lot of interest that South Africa will be looking to protect. Don't forget MTN, Standard Bank, and a lot of South African companies are doing business in that part of the world. So it is important to keep those relationships going. But also, Masego, because the African Continental Free Trade Area has just come into effect at the beginning of 2020, and it is important for countries to facilitate that. And also the intra-Africa trade that took place in Durban not so long ago, where we read about deals worth close to $40 billion being concluded. It is not going to materialize until people as senior as President Ramaphosa, from an economy as critical as South Africa, join hands with the rest of the continent to get that trade going and give it some teeth.
And of course, you know, the important discussions that they've been having in terms of fighting back against the international world and Europe in terms of what they're doing since the discovery of this new Omicron variant, but also importantly, trying to make sure that Africa is able to produce its own medicines, so that we don't rely so much on the Western world.
Well, that should be a slap in the face or a wake-up call for us Africans, that after COVID taught us so much, that the rest of the world is all about protecting itself. And there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody should protect their citizens. And we only have ourselves, Masego. I emphasize this all the time. Domestic tourism, regional tourism, those are the two forms of tourism that deliver more value than people from Europe and the US. You check that, you can check the stats from Stats SA, they'll prove that even since 2010 or so, the real growth in travel into South Africa came from Zimbabwe, came from countries on the African continent. So it is important that when COVID has taught us that the world can shut us down just like that, even without any reason whatsoever, because they have no reason to do what they just did. But it shows you that unless we as Africans can count on one another and strengthen social and trade relations, we are always going to be found wanting.
And of course, going back to these economies, I mean, Nigeria, for instance, is a very big economy in the African continent. South Africa is also a very big economy, but also Kenya, with Uhuru Kenyatta coming here. That's an economy that's growing quite rapidly, you know, but we have a lot of businesses happening in those countries. And, you know, the scale is not so fair when it comes to those countries doing business here. So maybe other discussions should be about making sure that we trade with each other.
It's exactly that. And that's why I like the countries that President Ramaphosa has chosen. Kenya is the major economy, the largest economy of East Africa. And it can teach us a thing or two, Masego, about digitalization. Because remember, we are still talking about moving from analog to digital here. When Kenya moved way back, I think they moved 5 years ago already. Same like the countries like Tanzania and Rwanda, that part of the world. So he picks, I'm thinking he's picking the right countries. And consider the fact that they talked about collaboration between the two airlines to make sure we boost trade and travel among one another. But it's also, you are right, that we have to make sure that South Africa doesn't only look to export its goods and wares to these countries, it should also be importing some of that into the country that comes from these countries that they're visiting. And to hear them talk about with President Uhuru Kenyatta about collaboration, including SAA and Kenya Airways, was very encouraging. I just don't know if they shouldn't have been collaborating with Ethiopian Airlines, though.
All right, thank you very much for your indulgence. That was Victor Kgomoeswana, an African business expert. Let's pause now for Morena, who's standing by to give